Hey, good afternoon and welcome to Daf Yomi Maseches Rosh Hashana Daf. What daf is today? Day
I think today is 20.
20. Daf Chaf, Daf 20. My father mentioned maybe there shouldn't be a basketball player in the background. Does anyone know who that basketball player is in the background? Holding two basketballs. You know who that is, Dad?
He is the guy from China, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an old basketball player. Doesn't play anymore. You know his name?
No, well, what happened? His knees gave out, I think.
He was like 7'6". Yao Ming was his name.
Yao Ming.
Yao Ming. I say the opposite. For this year, we have to have basketball players in the background, you know? I want basketball players to watch this year. All right? You know, when they have halftime, it's going to be one day there. One day is going to be, let's say the Warriors play the Lakers or something like that,
Right.
Steph Curry, he's getting some treatment on his knees during halftime. I'll flip on, Ben Silang Daf Yomi Shir, right?
There you go.
Yeah, I'll flip it on, You need some action during halftime. It's kind of boring during halftime, No one listens to their coaches anyway in the NBA, right? In college, they listen to the coaches. In the NBA, they don't listen to the coaches.
Well, Phil Jackson is.
Not really. No one listens to Phil Jackson.
No?
Even no, there was a game where he wanted Jordan wasn't on the Bulls. He was playing baseball, and he called the last play. Scottie Pippen was their best player, and he called the last play for Tony Kukoc, who was a European player, and Scottie Pippen was the best player, and he got offended, so he wouldn't check back into the game. He sat on the bench, and he wouldn't check back into the game. You know what? They got the ball to Tony Kukoc. He hit the winning shot. So Jackson was right, but no, Scottie Pippen was not happy. You don't talk to Scottie Pippen that way, right? Who's your favorite basketball player, there?
I don't know if it's favorite, but it's a tough choice because unfortunately he never won a championship. But when I grew up, it was Willis Reed.
Willis Reed did win a championship. You beat Patrick Ewing, bro.
Patrick Ewing. Yeah, Willis Reed did.
Willis Reed won.
Willis Reed did.
Willis Reed was the
Patrick Ewing was the finger roll that didn't go in. Right.
Patrick Ewing
was the finger roll.
You know which college Patrick Ewing went to?
I'm not sure. University of Albany.
Only Shmuel would say something like that. My father. There you go, Dad. Now, this is the real deal. My father thinks he went to Albany.
Where did he go?
He went to Georgetown.
Georgetown. Well, that's close.
Where is Georgetown?
It's on the East Coast.
You know where?
Yeah, in Washington, D.C.
There you go. So that's a difference between Shmuel and my father. Because Shmuel would have no clue where Georgetown is. He'd probably say it's in like Idaho or something like that. But anyway, yeah, my favorite player growing up was MJ. I actually went shopping yesterday. Went to Woodbury Commons. It's about an hour and a half upstate New York in Orange County, New York. And it's owned by Simon Group. If anyone knows Simon Group, we have the stock there. Biggest real estate stock. Anyway, I got some new sweater over here. Looking pretty good right there. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, I like
this burgundy V-neck sweater. I got 3 of these, different colors. It looks good. And it would look so good that I walk outside here in West Hempstead. I took a walk with my wife and my kids. We went to the park, went to CVS, pharmacy here. Every person I passed, they said hi to me. I said to my wife, I don't understand. Why is everyone saying hi to me over here? In Israel, you walk in the streets in Telstone, all Haredi people, Jewish people, no one says a word to you. No one says hi. No one says anything. Here, every person, not talking about Jewish people, non-Jewish people, most of them women, like, why are they all saying hi to me? I don't understand. Everyone says, is this a common occurrence in West Hempstead? Everyone says hi to you when you walk outside?
People are nice, but you're also pushing a stroller. So when you push a stroller, people are attracted to small children.
So my wife thinks that most of the people were women that said hi, and they said I look very handsome, so they were attracted to the way I look. So they said hi.
Could be.
So I found it amazing that everyone's saying hi to me. I mean, everyone's talking to me. I'm my best friend. So if you want to make friends, you want to have good friends, come to West Hempstead. You can make friends. Not even the Jews, non-Jews here. They're really nice people. I was shocked. People are so nice over here.
Yeah, it's a nice community.
What did I want to say? I went to the Woodbury Commons. I don't remember what I was talking about.
Your
Whatever.
sweater that you got
The
a new
sweater, but why did I mention I was going to Woodbury Commons?
That I can't remember.
All right, forget about it. Doesn't make a difference. Anyway, if you want to make friends, come to West Hempstead. My father will buy you a house here. He'll buy you your own house. He'll personally cook dinner for you for the first month there. My mother will bake the challahs, and he'll walk every morning at what time do you finish that, Yomi? 6:30 in the morning. He'll walk over to your house, ring your doorbell, and shake your hand, and personally say hi to you every time he sees you in the street. Right there.
Not sure.
Anyway, it's not that friendly. He's not going to buy your own house, but he'll say hi to you, I'm sure. All right, I'm going to start here on the bottom. The Gemara says, on 19b, Yud Ted Amud Beis, 5 lines from the bottom. Shalach le'lamar ukva adar asamach l'nisan la'olam chaser. Adar, which is close to Nisan, meaning if there's two Adars, so let's say Adar Sheni, so there's only one Adar, it is the one next to Nisan, adjacent to Nisan. It's always chaser, only has 21 days. Meisir of Nachman asks a question from a Brisa, Al Shnei Chadoshim Mechalin Shabbos. 2 months of the year, this Brisa holds Mechal Shabbos. We'll see later on that in the Mishnayos that you could, even Mechal Shabbos, you can walk, you can do Hotzah, you can carry things, you can walk out your Tchum, in order to go to Basin to tell him it's all the new moon, even on Shabbos, it's still a Shabbos. So this Brisa holds only 2 months. Al Nisan al Tishrei. On Nisan and Tishrei, these are very important because the Pesach was during Nisan and Tishrei was Sukkot. If you say that the other Samach Nisan could either be Male, which would be 30 days, or Chaser. That's why Mechal, you have to know which one day it is. It's the one before Nisan. El Yamar Olam Chaser, if you say it's always Chaser, it's always going to be 29 days. So my Mechalin, why do you need Adam to come? We know it's 29 days. Gemara answers the mitzvah of the Kadesh al Ra'iyah. Since it's a mitzvah, it says in the Torah, it's actually the first mitzvah in the Torah. Kazer Rav Kadesh. Chodesh Hazel Lechem. Kazer Rav Kadesh. The first mitzvah in the Torah is Kiddush HaChodesh. So the mitzvah of Kadesh HaChodesh, therefore, even if we know what day it's going to be on, it's a mitzvah for Adam to come and to Makadesh, and that's Docha Shabbos. Alternatively, Amar of Nachman Afanan Namitanina. We also, he brings the support from a Brisa, and we just said Al Shnei Chadashim Mechalin Shabbos, Al Nisan ve'Al Tishrei. Yamar b'Shlam Al Olam Chaser. If we say it's always Chaser Mishum Hakim Mechal Lina, the mitzvah of Kadesh Al Ra'iyah. Because the mitzvah to Mekadesh Al Ra'iyah, Al Yamar Zimnan Mali Zimnan Chaser. If you'll say that it could be either 29 days or 30 days, my Mechal Lina. Now if I have the ability to go ahead and make it, could it be chaser? And I can make it mole. I just wait another day, make it a full month, because it's a possibility to do either one. So the Gemara says, if we're talking about the 30th day is when the Adam saw the new moon, in which case they would Mekadesh the 30th day as the new month and make the previous month 29 days. Hakanami, the Rice is talking about the Ikla Yom Shloshim ve'Echad b'Shabbos. We're talking about where the Adam saw the moon on the 31st day. The mitzvah l'kadesh ala riyah, because then it becomes a mitzvah l'kadesh ala riyah. Because then you can't make it. There's no ability. You have to be makadesh that day. You can't be makadesh tomorrow because no such thing as a day in the Jewish calendar was 31 days. Mesiv Rav Kahana Kshamikdash Kaim, when the base of Mikdash was around, Mechal and Al Kulan, on all the months, not just Nisan and Tishrei. Because we want to make sure the korban of Rosh Chodesh was on the right time. Rosh Chodesh was a special korban for Rosh Chodesh. We want to make sure it's the right day. The Kulu La Mishum the Mitzvah Lakadesh, the Kulu La Mishum Mitzvah Lakadesh Lariya, Nisan and Tishrei Nami La Mishum Mitzvah Lakadesh Lariya. Because we said the whole reason is because the korban. And it's not because it's just a mitzvah, because this is in the Torah, it's a mitzvah to Mekadesh with Adam. So also Nisan and Tishrei also not because of a mitzvah. So then it makes sense to Mechalel. If other is always chaser, why do you have to Mechala? According to this way we're learning now, this price, it's clear it's not because of mitzvah Mekadesh Ariyah. So it's always chaser. We know the day it is. There's no mitzvah like Kaddish al so why mechalel? So the Gemara says tiyufta. It's actually a good proof. It's a good question. We can't answer the question.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is it really, when we say mechaladin, why do we consider it mechaladin? Because we're doing it for the purpose which is actually permitted, because, chilul implies that you're desecrating it.
Right.
Are you really desecrating it if what you need to do is it's important enough to accomplish the mitzvah?
I understand.
There's at least a level of chilul. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, so you're getting very lamdish. My father likes lamdas. He's written a couple of svarim. He's written how goes to Chaim Brisker's Sefer, the stencils. It's called Yehuda Omer. What's it called?
This is a very, very basic question.
No, it's a good question. I'm telling you, I'm leading you into an answer, which proves that you're into the lamdas over here. Because there's two concepts in the Torah. There's a concept called docha and a concept called hutra. Right? Dechia means, right, it is called chilul Shabbos, right? Mechal and Shabbos, if someone's sakanas nefashos, the Gemara says Mechal and Shabbos. It's the same idea, right? Mechal for Kiddush HaChodesh, Mechal and Shabbos for Refuah. Someone could die for Misa. It's called chilul Shabbos. So you see that really the Torah is saying, even though really you are Mechal Shabbos, you violated Shabbos, but it's worth it.
It overrides.
It overrides it.
The chilul.
Right, but there is a different concept in the Torah called hutra, like Tuma Hutra B'Sibur, like we learned about Korban Pesach. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Where all the Kohanim are Tameh, right? You're allowed to bring the Korban Pesach. Where all the people, Rova of Klal Yisrael is Tameh, you're allowed to bring the Korban Pesach because Tuma Hutra B'Sibur. There, even though you're not allowed to bring a Korban B'Tuma, right? It carries Kares or Misa. It's Hutra. The Torah matters it. It's not like it's like in the Avera. What's the difference in Hutra and the Chuya there? So now that I'm telling you, there's two different concepts in the Torah.
Right.
So what's the practical difference? Is there a practical difference? What the fact that it's machal? The nafkamina they commonly say is that if it's efshar to do it in a different way, then you have to do it. Meaning, if it's inconvenient, if you're able to do it in a different way, so then you should do it. So therefore, if you chilul Shabbos, you have a way of doing it beheter.
Talking about with a shinoi?
Yeah, you could do a shinoi, or you could do it, or you can get around to someone else. A guy could do it, or something like that. So then, because it's chilul, because the Torah is telling you really be mechal Shabbos. It doesn't make it mutter. It's really usher. It's just this is what we have to do. So then we say, try to do it also in a different way. But if it's hutra, you don't have to go. You can whatever is convenient for you. You can do. You don't have to matriach yourself. You don't have to labor in order to make sure to do it in a more permissible way.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. Too?
Good. Yeah.
A little lumdus, right?
I like that.
All right, Ian with Ben Sion for today. I can't to my father, but he really is writing these chidushim and stencils. Telling you. All right. So Tiyufta Kiyasa Ula, when Ula came to Bavel, Amar Ibru Elul. He told them in Elul and in Bavel, in Eretz Yisrael, they made Elul Mu'uber, meaning they made it 30 days. Amar Ula Yadei Chavrin Bavlai, my Tivusa Avdina. You, my Babylonian friends, you should know what great favor that in Eretz Yisrael did for you. My Tivusa. What was the favor that by making it 30 days? Ula Amar Mishum Yarkaya. Ula says the reason is because of the vegetables. This year that he was talking about, when they made Elul Mu'uber, if it was 29 days, it would have happened that either Yom Kippur would have fallen out right before Shabbos, right after Shabbos, or the first day of Sukkot would have fallen out right before Shabbos, right after Shabbos. In which case, you have a 2-day Yom Tov, right? People in America are familiar with 2-day Yom Tov. Now, sometimes they have 3-day Yom Tovs, but 2-day Yom Tov. So they did a favor. They made it 30 days so that the Yom Tov, there should be a space. There should be Sunday or Friday should be, and then Friday should be Chol, and therefore there should be a day. It shouldn't be 2 days in a row of Yom Tov or Shabbos. So what's so bad about having 2 days? He says because of vegetables, right? Sometimes you buy vegetables. They didn't have refrigeration back then, and it dries out. If you have vegetables that are kept 2 days, right? They were cut before Shabbos. You want to eat it after Yom Kippur. Let's say Yom Kippur is on Sunday, so it's going to be it's going to rot a little bit, right? In Eretz Yisrael, we have these shvius. They don't have a lot of fruit. It's hard to get lettuce over there. You leave it out a couple of days, it rots. He says the reason is because of dead people. They'll decompose. You're not allowed on Yom Tov and Shabbos. You're not really supposed to bury Yom Tov. Maybe there's some kulas, we'll see. not supposed to bury someone. You leave him out 2 days, he'll decompose. My benai. What's the difference between these two reasons? If Yom Kippur fell after Shabbos, if it's because of dead people, ma'avrinan. So therefore, we need to make sure it's not 2 days in a row. So therefore, you make elul ma'uber in order to separate 2 days. If it's because of vegetables, when do you need the vegetables? At night after Yom Kippur is over. That's not going to be so terrible because you can just go and bring fresh vegetables. Even if you hold the reason because of the fresh vegetables, you should do it because of what's the reason of dead person. It should be suffice for him also. What's the practical difference? Yom Tov Samach Shabbos. Not Yom Kippur, but Yom Tov Sukkot falls up Shabbos. Whether it's before Shabbos or after Shabbos. Because of the vegetables, we don't want that to fall 2 days in a row. You can do it with goyim. We learned in Maseches based on Daf that certain instances you're allowed to bury a dead person on Yom Tov. The first day of Yom Tov, you're allowed to bury him on goyim, and the second day of Yom Tov, even Jews. The same question. If you hold the reason is because of you don't want a dead person to decompose, so we should do it mishum yarkaya. You should do it vegetables. You should make elam over efshar bechamimi. So the Gemara says no. According to this man, the Amar holds that you can heat up the vegetables, and therefore when you heat it up with hot water, it prevents it from rotting so much. Why is he saying he went to Bavel? He said you did a great thing in Bavel. Even Eretz Yisrael, it's a great thing. So he said lidan chavel and alma. Who lo chavel alma? In Bavel it was very hot. Bavel was Iraq, let's say. So it's a drier climate over there. Eretz Yisrael has more hills. It's more arid, so more air, not arid. It's more air, so therefore the weather is not as hot in Eretz Yisrael, and therefore the vegetables wouldn't decompose if there was 2 days of Yom Tov and Shabbos. Aini, is this true? Vatani Rav Bar Shmuel Yachu Shen Shem Abras Hashana L'Sorah Kach Ma'abras HaChodesh L'Sorah. You might think just like they can make an Uber year, they can add an extra other. Also, you can add an extra voluntarily, just add an extra day to make. We said Ula said that they did a great favor by making Elul Mu'uber. They added an extra day. Sounds like they could do it on a whim, whatever they wanted. Kach Ma'abras HaChodesh L'Sorah. Talmud Lomar HaChodesh Alachem Rosh Kadashim Kazeh Rav Kadesh. This price seems to say that it has to be Kazeh only exactly when you see it. You can't just on a whim decide to ma'aber Elul and make it 30 days. You have to actually it's based on when you see the new moon. Amarav Kash Akan Abro Kan Lakacho. Depends what you're doing. If you're doing Ibor to add an extra day, that you can do even if you don't see it. Kan Lakacho means to make it earlier, meaning you didn't see the moon, you want to make it on the 30th day so that the previous month will be 29. That you can't do. You might think you could also be Makadesh. That's the reading of the Bryce. Makadesh means to make it early. So if you're Makadesh early, that you can't do. But to make it Ma'uber, to make it 31 days, to Makadesh on the 31st day and the previous month is 30 days, that you could do. He had Amar Rishub and Levi, and it's like what Rishub and Levi said, Ma'ayminas al ha'idim ala chodesh nir bezman ala abro, Ma'ayim ala ha'idim ala chodesh shalom nir bezman ala kacho. You could instill fear, you can frighten Eidim, you can threaten them, you can take a gun to their head and threaten them, and if they don't give testimony, if it's chodesh nir bezman where they actually saw the moon, they could make them afraid. Did you really see the moon? Are you really sure about it? So therefore, they'll say, "Oh no, we're going to back down from Eidos. We don't want to be proven false Eidim." So they won't be. So they'll make it in the Chodesh. They'll make Ma'ubar. They'll make it a full month, 30 days. They won't give testimony. But you can't. But you can't if they didn't see a new moon. You can't force them to give testimony that they saw it.
It's witness tampering.
My father's a lawyer by trade. Do you engage in this when you want to get forced testimony out of someone, false testimony out of someone? What measures do you use in order to get witnesses to say what is untrue?
No, you shouldn't. You're obligated to follow the law. But because in America. We live in an adversarial system. we believe that we arrive at the truth by both sides using every device they can to prove their point, and that ultimately a jury or a judge will determine which is true. But you're really not necessarily after the truth.
Wait, so is it?
You're after defending your client, or and if you're the prosecution or another opposing counsel, of doing the best to defend to represent your client.
So you feel that within your profession, there are people that uh, instill fear in witnesses in order either to prevent them from testifying or testify falsely?
No, I think that attorneys will go up to the very limit to try to help their client, but it may be by saying, "Are you sure you remember that? Because it's possible that you didn't remember it that way."
Mm-hmm.
And try to contradict them in their own testimony so that they kind of and he'll do it with a good heart because he's trying to defend his client, because the idea is it's adversarial. You're representing your client to the best of your ability.
So, I mean, I've heard of lawyers that use shock. The common thing, the shockers. They put in they shocked. What was that guy in the psychology? The guy wasn't it Pavlov? Not Pavlov. It was the guy who shocked the people. It was disobedient. What is it called? He wanted to see people would take commands.
It was dogs.
I'm in Pavlov. No, that was behavioral conditioning. That
right.
It got them to salivate when they rang the bell. No, there's a different thing about a different scientist, a different psychologist wanted to shock people to see if they'll listen. People gave them orders, and they told the people that were shocking them, and they said, "You have to shock him now," and they kept them shocking the people. So maybe that happens with witnesses here in America. I know there's a business. I was reading about the newspaper. There's a business. They sell these shockers, extra voltage ones.
Right, but
to shock the witness.
But you have to realize that there's a different system, because the Jewish system of law, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the idea of drisha and chakira. Mm-hmm. So the judges will use every means possible to get at the truth, mm-hmm. because what Torah law is looking for is the ultimate truth. What American law is looking for is each counsel representing his client to the best of his ability, and eventually truth will win out. But that doesn't always happen. The goal is not the same goal. They're hoping for the same result, but the goal is not the same goal.
This
and
is that's why a little too deep for me. I don't understand all the intricacies of American law, but what I can tell you is that my father is saying that America is a non-truthful. I'm joking. America.
No,
I'm joking.
It means that different systems, although most American law is actually based on Jewish law.
There you go. So everyone wants the truth, just figure out different ways. If you need someone to shock you, I have a phone number. Call people. They'll shock the witnesses for you. Now, Miami doesn't mean to shock the people. It means to like you said, intimidate. Say it like, did you really see this? Did you really see the new moon?
Make them doubt their own testimony.
Exactly. Right. That's probably used, I'm sure, by lawyers and witnesses.
Yes.
All right. מקיימים על עירים על חודש נר בזמן לעברו, אם היינו על עירים של חודש של נר בזמן לקשר, איני זה שוב, השלח לרב יהודה נשיא לרבי עמי, have a yodin shkol yom of Rabbi Yochanan Yamalamdenu. He would teach us ma'aymin al edim al chodesh shalom nir b'zman al kadsho, av v'shlo ra'u yom ru ra'inu. They would force them. He would intimidate them to say that, and we just said that's exactly the opposite. You're not supposed to intimidate them to say that what they didn't see. Amar Abaye. Lokash, Abanisan Batisha, Habashar Yarch. If it's other months, which is not so important, we don't intimidate them for that purpose, to say what they didn't see. But Nisan and Tishrei are very important because of the Moados, so therefore we do. Rav Amar Hadatani gives a different answer. Hadatani Rav Bar Shmuel Acherimi. That's Rav Bar Shmuel said that you can't make El Mu'ubra on a whim. It's Acherimi. The Tanya Acherim Omer Meimin Asheras Asheras Meimin Roshana L'Shana El Dal Yom Mavad Mahisa Shana Muveras Chamisha. He held that the months were calculated always, that it was 6 months, Mali 6 months chaser. So it was impossible to have more or one. So it was impossible to make El Mu'ubra. And that was the Brisa, which says you can't make El Mu'ubra. So it's only, the year is 354 days, the lunar year. So you had an extra 4 years. And next year it's going to be 4 days later if you have exactly 6 months Mali, 6 months chaser. And Shana Mu'ubra, it's always the other Shani is 29 days to have an extra fifth day. Rav Dimi Menaharda Masni Ibcha, he taught the opposite. He says you can still fear, and then the Eidim in order to get them to testify. You can't intimidate them in order not to give testimony. In my time, and what's the reason? Hi, Mixi Kashikra. Hi, Lo Mixi Kashikra. That if the moon was seen, it was seen by witnesses, it was seen by other witnesses. So therefore, to intimidate them to say not to say their testimony, it looks like shikra, it looks like sheker, because other people saw it also. But if no one really saw the moon, and you're trying to intimidate them the other way, so no one saw it, so to intimidate them to say that they saw it is not a problem because no one really saw it. Amar Shmuel Yachino Latkune Lakule Gola. Shmuel says I can make a takana for all the Gola. This is one of the most complex Gemaras. I'm going to simplify it because the article took about 1,000 pages to explain this. I'm going to explain it in about 5 lines. He says you don't have to rely on Kiddush HaChodesh. I can make calculations and I can figure out basically when the new month is, even without the Edom coming. Amar Le Abba Avua the Rabbi Simlai Shmuel. He said to Shmuel, Yada Amar Hai Milsa the Tanya Basara Ibor. You know this. You know what was taught in this brisa called Soda Ibor, which is the secrets of intercalations, meaning making new months. No lad kodem chatzos and no lad achar chatzos. There's a difference whether the molad is when the first ray of the new moon appears. Is it before chatzos or is it after chatzos? There's a difference. Amalei lo, he said, I don't know the difference. Amalei mdahalo yadamar iga miliach hernaisid lo yadamar. If you don't know this difference, then how can you know anything about making intercalations without having witnesses come? He said a teaching about this, that the night and the day have to be from the new month. Meaning, if you saw the old moon in the night, you can never make that day Rosh Chodesh, even though you saw the new moon the next day. Now, we're going to see it's impossible to see the new moon the next day. You need 24 hours between the old moon and the new moon. But in terms of when based in, we just said before, based in, there's, according to some opinions, they can tell someone to Makadish the Chodesh when they really didn't see it. According to those opinions, then it's relevant. We just taught that you can't make if the new moon was if the old moon was seen during the night, since the day starts in the night, you can't make that day Rosh Chodesh. V'zdusha Amar Abba Vuder Simlai Mechashna has told us so, no has told us so. Mechashev the molad nolad kodem chatzos biyadua shenira samach l'shkias hachama. If they saw the molad before chatzos of a day, so you know that. If the actual molad, you can't see the molad, the new moon, and for at least 6 hours. So if it happened before chatzos, it's very possible you could see it actually before shkia chama on that day. Lo nolad kolam chatzos. If the molad, if the actual start of the new moon didn't happen before chatzos, yadua shalom nira samach shkia chama. You can't see it before shkia chama. Shkia chama is 6 hours after chatzos. L'may nafkamina. What's the practical difference? Amar Rashi lachushe sahadi. The practical difference is to know this is that if witnesses came, and we know the molad was after chatzos, and they said no, they saw the new moon before shkia, it's impossible. Amar Rabbi Zera, Amar Nachman, Kaf Daled Shai Mechase Sira. 24 hours, the moon is covered. I mean, you can't see the new moon. The separation between seeing the old moon and seeing the new moon. Lididan for us, Shis Matika Twanisari Mechata. For us in Bavel, it's 6 of the old moon. But 20 mechata, the first 18 hours, the new moon we can't see it because Bavel was in the east. It was east of Eretz Yisrael, so therefore the old moon was from the east. So therefore it's easier to see in the east. They only couldn't see the last 6 hours of the east, and they couldn't see the new moon was coming from the west, so they couldn't see first 18 hours of the west. They did too in Eretz Yisrael. Shis mechata 20 matika. They couldn't see the last 18 hours of the old one. But they couldn't see only the first 6 hours of the new one. The might again, what's the difference in knowing this halacha? Amar Ravashi, lachushe sahadi. In order to tell witnesses that if you saw it within 24 hours of the old moon being seen, it's impossible. Amar Sarakshi laila v'yom chadash. The day and night both have to be of the same month. So if you see the new moon, the old moon at night, you can't make that day Rosh Chodesh Minolan. Where do we know this from? Yachan Amar Me'erev Ad Erev. It says by Yom Kippur Me'erev Ad Erev. So therefore, we see the day starts to the night. The whole day has to be one day. It has to be either last month or this month. It's talking about Pesach. Again, it says that Pesach goes to the 21st day at the night. You see the day starts at the night. My what's the practical difference between the two? Abaye Amar Mashmos Dorshanik Menayu. He says there's no practical difference, just where they learned it from, which pasuk. No practical difference. Rav Amar Chatzos Lailika Menayu. Difference is Chatzos, meaning according to the second pasuk, that's talking about the mitzvah. That's talking about Pesach, and Pesach is talking about chametz. It's talking about eating matzah and chametz that continues on Pesach to the 21st day, end of the 21st day. That only starts at chatzos of the night because this is talking about the voluntary mitzvah of eating matzah, and we know that until chatzos there's an obligation to eat matzah on the first night of Pesach. This isn't talking about the voluntary mitzvah of eating matzah and the Israel of chametz, so therefore it starts at chatzos of the night. So therefore, according to Rava, according to Reish Lakish, if you saw the old moon before chatzos, it's technically possible to disregard that day as the old month and say that whole day is part of the new month. Amar Uzeira, Amar Rav Nachman, Kol Sveika L'Kamesh Adinon. He says any suffix you have, we throw it forward. Meaning, if you don't know, the shluchim never came and then to that place, we don't know what day it is, so we celebrate. We assume the previous month was Chaser, was 29, and we celebrate the next day after. Remember the Chameser V'Shitzer Avdina and Arbeser Avdina. We celebrate the 15th and 16th, let's say, of Pesach, and not the 14th. La'avid Nami Arbeser Dilma Chasru La'av Chasru La'el. Reason 14th day is because a month can never be 28 days, but maybe they didn't have the Shluchim never came for Av and they didn't come for Elul, in which case both of those months could have been Chaser, and it should be the 14th day. It should be celebrated 14th, 15th, and 16th. So the Gemara answers on top of 21a, to have 2 months that are deficient, that are only 29 days, that people would hear about, and since no one heard about it, it's not possible that it's Yudalin. Have a good Shabbos, everybody. Dad,
Good
wish
Shabbos.
him a good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos, everyone.
And
See you.
Motzei Shabbos. Make sure to party on Shabbos, right? Party?
Simcha.
Simcha. All right.